Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to make a maxi circle skirt with inner pockets and lining. If you'd like to see how I made this, please watch the end of this tutorial. To all returning viewers and subscribers, you guys are amazing as usual, and if this is your first time seeing my video, you're welcome. Consider subscribing if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, and also turn on the notification bell so I'll be notified every time I upload a new video, and don't forget to like this video. I already have on this channel a tutorial on how to make a collar crop shirt just like the one I'm pairing with this skirt. If you'd like to see how to make that, I'll be dropping the link in the description box. Now let's get into today's business. For this skirt, I used a Kampala fabric. You will need about 3.5 to 4 yards of African print if you're using an African print, which comes in by 45, and then you would need 2 yards of lining. That's what I have, and then a zip, a matching zip and thread, of course your measuring and tape and scissors. Now before I cut this out, I'm going to be taking a measurement. Okay, I'm going to be working out my measurements because I'll be cutting this in form of a half circle. So the first thing, or the measurements needed for this skirt, is the waist circumference measurement and the length of the skirt. That's the two measurements that are needed. So the waist circumference I'm working with is 30 inches. That's my waist circumference, and the length of my skirt is 40 inches. And to this I'll be adding extra 2 inches for hemming the lower part of my skirt, making it 42 inches. Now to calculate or to get the radius for my waist circumference, I'm going to add extra 4 inches to my waist measurement. This is because I'm going to divide the sides. I'm going to divide the sides of the skirt. So whatever is your waist circumference, add extra 4 inches to that, making mine for 34 inches divided by pi, which is 3.14. So when I divided, I got a measurement which I approximated to 10.8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be adding that to 42 inches, which is the length of the skirt, to give me 52.8 inches. Now I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches, which is the height of the band of this skirt, from the 52.8 inches, and I'll be left with 51.3 inches. So this is the measurement I'll be cutting out, 51.3 inches, which I approximated to 52 inches. So I have to work out this measurement so I don't end up wasting material, wasting my fabric. So that's why I did all this calculation, to know what I would have to cut out. So here you can see I folded my fabric, but don't worry, I'm going to illustrate on a paper because my fabric is big, okay, and my camera is not covering everything. So I'm going to illustrate with this piece of paper. Okay, so what you're going to do is you measure that 51.3 inches, 52 inches we approximated to, sorry, you measure it 2 times. So I'm assuming that this is my yardage. Okay, this paper is my fabric. So when I measure 52 inches, I'm going to fold it and cut out. That's, you're measuring 52 inches 2 times. Okay, so assuming you're cutting without splitting the sides, you just fold in a triangular manner and cut. But because I'm attaching an inner pocket, when I measure the 52 inches, like here, I'm assuming that this crease point is where I've measured the first 52 inches. So I would split into 2, making it 52 inches, 52 inches. That means I'll measure the first length, 52 inches, along the yardage I'll measure another 52 inches. So that is what I've done on this paper. I'm assuming that these are my 252 inches by 45, which is the length of the ankara. So I'll go ahead and fold along that 52 inches. I would fold it to meet the other side, so they would meet this way as I'm demonstrating, into a triangle. And folding into a triangle, I'll fold the 2 pieces that I've cut out and place them one against on top of the other, and make sure that the folded edge are matching, they are aligned. Okay, they are on the same side, just like I have on my fabric and on the paper. The next thing will be to measure out that radius of the waist, which when I calculated, I got 10.8. So here I'm assuming that 3.5 is that measurement on my paper. So from the tip I measured 3.5 and made them with the dotted lines I then connected. Then from the tip again, I'm going to measure the length of the skirt, which is now 51.3. Okay, so I'm measuring and assuming on my paper that that measurement is 17 inches. So from the tip, I would keep measuring. From the tip, I measure the 17 inches all round with a dotted point. I'm noting that. Then I'll connect all my dotted lines this way. The dotted points, I'm connecting them. So on the fabric, I'll measure the actual length, but here I'm just taking these measurements for illustration. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing I did on the paper on my fabric. So I've taken my measurement. You can see the measurements, though the lines are fainted because this material is colorful. Okay, so that's what I'm demonstrating on this paper. So after doing this, I'm going to cut out the radius. Okay, make sure you pin together if you're cutting on your fabric so your fabric doesn't shift, and you have the same measurements on both the top fabric and the fabric underneath. I'll go ahead and cut this as well. After cutting, you notice the side of your skirt that is not complete, that's the length is not complete. Okay, so you measure the biggest part, the highest part of it, and the width of the part that is not complete, and use it to cut extra material to attach and complete your skirt. So on the paper, when I measured, the biggest part was about 3.5, so I would add extra 1 inch to whatever height I have because I'll be joining. Okay, you use 1 inch as joining allowance and measure the width of the part that is not complete. Okay, so you cut that into 2 places because you'll be attaching to the 2 pieces of the skirt. Okay, so when I've cut on this my paper now, you place them, that material you cut, right side to right side of your skirt piece, and then sew with 1/2 inch allowance. Okay, so after sewing, you fold back your skirt into 2 this way and use the completed part to trim out the excess you would have, because when you join you have excesses. So I would fold this way and then trim out this excess. Okay, you can see the excess I have. After sewing, you trim out the excess. Okay, so that the skirt will be complete. You have the same shape, okay, on the 2 sides. So you do this on this part of the skirt and you do it on the other side. So when you now open up, you see that your skirt is now complete. You have the complete fabric. Now after doing this, you pick one piece of your skirt and split into 2. Okay, you split that into 2 because I'll split into 2 because I'll be attaching zipper at the back. I want my zipper to be at the back, so I'll split. Now I have 2 pieces for the back and 1 piece for the front. So when I place them this way, it's going to be this way. Okay, these are how the skirt will be placed. So I'll go ahead now and cut out the lining piece. For my lining, I'll fold that 2 yards of lining I have into 2. That's I'm folding them by 36 against 36, and then after folding, I'm going to then fold into a triangle. Okay, so I'll fold into a triangle, that's folding into 4. I'll go ahead and measure the radius of my skirt. Remember that the radius I had was 10.8, but I'll just remove 1/2 inch from that and measure 10.25. I think I measured 10.25 here as the radius. That's because I'm not splitting this lining into 2. I'm just going to cut it and it's just going to be open at the back. Okay, so I'll go ahead and then take the length, the total length I have on this folded part where it stops. Okay, so for the length of the lining, I'm just going to measure from the tip to where I have a complete measurement. Okay, where the folded part stops, that's what I'll do. I'll just measure. I want to use all of it because it won't get to the length of the skirt. So I'll just go ahead and measure all I have here and make sure that the same measurement I'm taking it, okay, all round. Then I'll go ahead and cut out the line. Please, when cutting out the radius, the skirt waist on the waist, don't cut directly on the line you've made, the radius line. Just come up by 1/2 inch, and that is what I'm doing here. I'm coming up by 1/2 inch and I'll cut on this 1/2 inch line I came up by, so that I'll have 1/2 inch joining allowance for attaching the band to the skirt. So I'm going to cut on this line now and not directly on the first measurement I took. For the pockets, I've folded a fabric. I have 4 pieces of fabric and I will have an opening for my pocket opening about 7 inches, and I will make a curve big enough to contain my hand. So that is what I'm doing. I'm just making a curve for the hand. I'll go ahead and cut this. So I have 4 pieces, 2 pieces for each side of the pocket. That's what I have. Now for my skirt, I've completed the parts that was short. You can see when you sew together, I remember to iron the seams open. So that's what I've done. Now to attach the pockets, this is how you attach your pocket. You place your fabric right side to right side. Then you measure from the waist, okay, from the tip of the waist, from the opening up like this. I'm going to measure 1.5 inches on the sides, on both the fabric for the front piece and the fabric for the back piece. I'll measure the 2 sides. I'll measure 1.5 inches downward, and that is where I'll start placing my pocket. So you pick your pocket piece and place them right side of the pocket on right side of your skirt piece like this, as I'm demonstrating, and then you place the other one on the back piece like this. Then you sew it 1/4 inch and then top stitch towards the pocket piece. Okay, so I would show you on my main fabric what I have done. Now on my main skirt, you can see what I have. I've attached the pocket and I've top stitched towards the pocket piece. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is bring the back and place them right side of the back to right side of the front, the corresponding sides. Okay, then I'm going to sew them together with 1 inch seam allowance, starting from the tip, okay, from the top part. But when I get to the pocket side, I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's what I'll do. I've joined them together. Okay, so now my skirt is now 1 piece. I've ironed the seams open. The next thing now will be to if you don't want to attach a lining to your, just go ahead and attach your zip and your band. But here I'm going to put my lining. I've hemmed my lining piece and I'm going to place the lining piece right side of the lining to right side of my main fabric and sew the sides together using 1/2 inch or less, okay, to sew them together by the sides. And then I'm going to flip the lining to the wrong side and then iron out. Okay, as I sew out, iron. I've done that. You can see what I have. Okay, so I've ironed. The next thing now will be to join the lining and the main piece on the waist. I'm going to sew them together. Whatever excesses I might have on my lining, I'll just split it on the main piece. For the band, I cut a unfold. I cut 2 inches and I've ironed in the 1/2 inch on both sides for joining, and the length of the band is 33 inches. That's my waist plus extra 3 inches. To attach the zipper, I've pinned the back together. Okay, so I'll place my zip this way and measure where I want the zip to stop and note that point. I've pinned all the way down. So what I'll do, I'll use a running stitch to sew from the waist to this point. When I get to this point, I'll back stitch and then use a tie stitch to sew to the end before I attach the zip. Now I'm going to place my zip. The right side of the zip is going to be touching this allowance this way, and I'm going to use the stopper I'll place it at where the zip should stop. I'm pinning my zip on this allowance zipper allowance side. I'll pin together, making sure that the zip teeth aligns with the seam, okay, that seam point. So I'm going to pin together before sewing. So I'll start sewing from one side, the zip allowance and the back part of the zip. I'm going to sew them together this way. Then when I get before the zip stopper, I'm going to sew across the zip and then towards the other side and sew up. That's what I'm going to do. So after doing that, I'm going to rip that seam I made with a running stitch. I'm going to rip it so that I'll be able to zip this, take the zip up and down. Okay, so I'm just ripping this part I made with a running stitch. After this, I'm just going to iron and then go ahead and attach my band. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and attach my band. So I'm going to attach this band in a simple way. I'll just sandwich the skirts opening, the waist in between this band. Okay, so I'll just tidy up the hem of this band on one side. Then when I sew to the other side, I'll also do the same thing. I'll fold in and sew. So that's how I'm going to attach my band. So in case you measure and you see that what you have on your waist is bigger than your actual waist measurement, just split a bit before attaching the band so that it will be your size. So after sewing, this is what I have. You can see what I have. I would attach iron hook at the band points, okay, on top of the band at the back, just to hook them together. And that's just it on how to make this maxi circle skirt. I'll also hem the lower part, and that's all about this skirt. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're yet to subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Bye.